Hello listeners, you're listening to 18 Minutes with Satyal and Silwal. I'm Satyal.
And I'm Silwal, and we're a weekly podcast on the Himalayas.
When it's a Tuesday and it's 7:30, you know it's time for perspectives, conversations, and stories.
If you haven't heard the news already, we're the official podcast partners of
National Speaking Championship 2016.
If you don't know what that is, it's a speaking championship for around 58 contestants. The cash prize is huge.
75,000 rupees.
And
man.
there's so many things. It's gonna be an amazing event. I'm pretty sure we're gonna be there, right?
Yeah,
Satyal?
we're gonna be there. There's some exciting stuffs lined up. But before we talk about all those things, that's for the future. What do we have lined up for today, Silva?
If you heard the 29th episode we did with Prince, at the end of the podcast, he asked us the question, what would you do? Why are we staying here?
Yeah.
And we didn't have the time to discuss on it, but the one
and
word...
we being the good people that we are, we said we'd get back to you, and we are getting back to you.
Yeah, so why are we staying back, right? Satya, why are we staying back? Just a small answer for me.
For me, the answer is very simple. I was very naive. I just made that decision based on a hunch.
Yeah.
That's all that there is, to be very honest. And I feel like that is how life generally works. We try to look back on certain decisions and try to draw inferences on how that decision might have been made. But in reality, there are no explanations, and I really believe in this.
All right.
What about you?
My story is not over yet, so you never know. You know,
that's a very deep answer.
Each day as I'm living by, there are so many decisions that's guiding my life, that I'm guiding my life towards. And that question, why am I still here? The answer is all the decisions that I've taken so far have led me to me being in Nepal. My decisions in the future might lead me to Nepal, to a foreign land, or
Yeah.
So
this reminds me of the conversation we had when we were in Kirtipur and we were enjoying this fantastic view.
Yeah.
We talked about how every decision is a decision based on a yes or a no.
Yeah.
And that yes or a no leads to another yes or a no, and there's a sequence of events that has led you to here right now.
Just think about all the decisions that you take each and every day, each and every second. From the side of bed that you decide to wake up onto, right? Saying yes to having tea or not.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Every decision you can break it down into either you went forward with it or you did not take a step, a yes or a no. And that's guiding your life so far.
Yeah, let me complicate that a little bit. It's not just you making those decisions. Think about all those series of decisions that your parents or their parents might have made for you to be born in the first place.
Yeah. And just, you've thought about vertically, right? Thinking about horizontally, all the variables that are really impacting you on every day, right? You're not just one person living in this earth. There's 7 billion simultaneous decisions being made that is somehow affecting our lives. Some people call it the butterfly effect. A butterfly flapped its wings in Japan, a tsunami goes in the United States.
Yeah.
It could, So
basically, does this mean that whatever happens in our life, we need to accept it? Because it's not just you who's controlling it, but there are so many other variables out there that you just need to put your hands up and say, this is the card I've been dealt, and I'm going to use it.
I think there's so many different ways you can look at doing this. There's different kinds of people. There's different personalities of people. Some people have an inward locus of control where they think that their decisions guide their life.
That they're in charge of their life.
That they're in charge of their life. While people who have an outside locus of control or something like that, they base their life on whatever happens because it's already out there and my life is already decided, right? So it depends on your outlook on life and how you look at things, how you choose things, right? So at the end of the day, it comes down to each individual and each personality.
To each their own, as we like to say. But as much as it sounds so nice when we hear it, why is it that when I flip through my Instagram and I can see my friends, somebody's out there in Australia, somebody's out there in Germany, somebody's getting married, and I look back and say, wow man, these people have made amazing decisions. They're like having the time of their life and I'm not?
Because while we only have one life to live, there's so many things that you want to do, right?
Definitely.
Sad thing is, you're just going to live one life.
Absolutely.
You can imagine on a different life. Right now, you could be in Canada or Australia or in India or just about anywhere else in the world. But you look at someone else and be like, they've made a good decision, because sometimes we feel like the grass is greener on the other side. Right? We fail to value what is with us. So while we're doing this opportunity cost, where we see someone doing amazing traveling or amazing work outside, and you look at your work that you're doing, we will sometimes undervalue your work and be like, you look at Instagram posts and be like, fuck man, I should have been there.
And the funny thing is, it's the exactly same thing that's happening to people who are outside and looking back at us and saying, these guys are doing amazing things in Nepal. Well, we hope you think that way. But so basically we're just looking on the outward a lot of times. So we kind of feel like somebody has a lot of, has a sense of direction. But this episode is called Directionless. And let's talk about your decision-making process. Are you someone who thinks a lot before making decisions, or how does that work for you?
I think people do tend to think where they're making a decision.
Or is it just that we think that we're thinking, but we're not really thinking? Let's narrow it down.
Yeah.
Talk about one decision you made recently and just guide us through it. It could be anything. Okay, you recently appeared for your IELTS exam.
Yeah, I didn't want to share that, but
yeah,
anyways,
sorry.
I did that.
Do you want me to cut it out?
No.
All right.
So it's out there, right? Eventually, I cannot hide my cards.
And you're a very popular guy. People want to follow what you're doing, so
Yeah,
there's no escape.
so-
I'm sorry, the paparazzi, it's on you. Carry on, son.
The moment I finished my bachelor's, I felt like I needed to make a base here. I wanted to do work here. Things were going for me. We were collaborating on a few things. I saw a few opportunities, here in Nepal, and while I enjoyed that decision which I took at that moment in time, now I've come to a point where I'm like, maybe I want to look at the other side of the world or something like that. So I was in a dilemma: should I give my GRE or not? And some decisions are unplanned. I paid for my GRE, but I didn't appear for it. Right, and then one day I was just going through my Facebook feed, and I saw British Council's post, and I was like, let's just check their website out, and
You had a date available.
Date was available, and I just took that date, and I asked Satyal to take the date as well, but
Their system crashed down and I could not do it.
It was not that Silwal never said
No, he
that.
did. He tried to help me a lot, but it just did not work out at that moment.
Talking about that decision being made, I was going through some personal stuff at that moment in time. I was kind of serious with this person, and this person, she wanted to stay in Nepal while
You clearly wanted to go out.
I clearly wanted to go out. So she was out of Valley. The date was there. I just took it. I didn't think too much on it, and boom, the rest is history now.
Yeah, because you said you did not really think much on it.
Yeah.
So I also think that a lot of decisions just happen just like that. I'd also registered for the GRE and I just canceled it one day.
We are GRE non-takers.
We're going to prove to the world that you can do a lot of great things without a GRE.
I hope you're right, Satyal. I hope
Hopefully
you're
we
right.
can do that. But I'd taken that decision on. That was also because one of my friends was appearing for it, and she encouraged me, and fair play to her. She thought we would be better off starting together. We did that, but one fine day I felt like, no, I could be doing so much better than trying to solve some math equations. I am a writer by nature, and I just could not comprehend the numbers, and I just said, whatever, I'm just gonna take this decision and I'm going to own it. In parallel universe, Sagar Satyal might have scored a 325 or 330 on a GRE and gone on to do amazing things. But this is a decision that I took, and I want to own this decision.
Yeah, and kudos to you, and shout out to your new website, the mindfulnepali.com.
Thank you.
From not giving a GRE to starting a website, those are a series of decisions that you've taken. And
absolutely. And I wonder if I had done my GRE and been so focused on going out, would I have ever opened a website? I'm not sure. But a lot of people might ask me, they ask me, how did you open a website? What's your plan? How do you plan to get revenue out of it? hey, I did not think of anything, all right? I wanted to write and I made a decision. That is what I always do. It's same with the podcast.
We just decided
We just
one
decided.
fine morning I came to your house and we were like, let's do it.
We talked about how I wanted to be a cricket commentator, so I wanted to be a wrestling commentator.
That's the first episode.
And we did not, we just made a decision.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is, if we go on to become a hit,
You cannot.
people will look back
Yeah.
at our model of doing the podcast and be like, this is exactly how you should run a podcast. But when we are doing it on our way to becoming a hit podcast, hopefully we will get there someday, there is no prescription, there is no prescribed formula to getting anywhere. That is what I really believe in.
What worked for Satyal and I will not work for the other
Absolutely,
person.
too
There's
many
no
variables
guarantee.
in play. Too many variables in. You cannot. That's why this is what I loved about the Black Swan, the book by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, where he talked about we look at a successful person and we try to draw inferences on the path that that person took to get to where he or she is right now, and we try to glorify that path, but we tend to disregard the millions of other people who tried the same path and failed and they never got into the limelight. So the chances of failure is just too much.
Absolutely. We talk about all the success stories of the dropouts in the world from college dropouts. You can name me 10 or 20 of them right now. But look at the facts. There's millions of people dropping out of college, but we don't hear their limelight. So
You just
what
like to
works for
glorify it.
one person cannot work for the other person, or there is no guaranteed success.
Yeah, another thing that I want to add is we talk about being directionless, and all of us want to have ambitions and all of us want to achieve great things. But like Silwal said, you only live a finite number of years, and with every yes decision that you take, you are saying no to effectively all other doors in some ways, right? So I was at this workshop for the National Speaking Championship. I was one of the trainers, and I could see a room full of 60 amazingly talented and bright young people who, you would sense that they wanted to do something with their life. But I look at them and I feel bad in certain ways because not everyone is going to make it big. That's the reality. That's where I think acceptance comes into play big time.
I would say that all 58 of you, everyone has equal chance to win. Just don't think that you're not going to win it because you feel someone else is better than you. Everyone has an equal chance, but there's only going to be one winner.
Yeah, definitely. And I say this not in just context of the championship, but in life in general,
as well,
right?
yeah.
We are too many people, there are too many variables into play, and not everyone can make it big. And we have this tendency of glorifying those people who go to the top, but I think it's perfectly fine to accept a life that you truly want, and that is where I think the inward locus of control is so important.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this curveball or a straight ball that I thought. By being too much accepting, don't accept the life that you've been given now.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if there's something that you really want to do, you have to take that step.
Yeah, definitely.
And out of so many people, those 58 people have taken that step for a future dream or position that they might lead into. If you never participated, you're never going to win.
Yeah, that's a very good decision. Very good point that you make, because you can say that, okay, there's a lot of variables in the environment and I'm not going to be as successful as I might think, but if you never make that decision, you never get to a point where you might become successful. So it's a lot of probabilities into play.
You talked about opening one door, effectively closing a few doors, right? But you take that step inside that door and there's an equal number of doors, right?
Yes.
That there's just right there. And life is like picking and choosing the doors that comes to you, and then you reach one point, or you reach that point.
Do you think, like, if you look at life this way, you'll have much less chances of regrets?
I think it'll make life, not the life, it will make life more interesting, because a magician's secret is not telling you how it is done. Not knowing how you are going to reach where you are going to reach. It's going to be an amazing journey, and you'll not, when you reach that point, you're going to look back and be like, that was awesome. The things, you can only join dots, looking backwards. Yeah. So I think that would lessen regrets in people. They'll be more accepting towards that regret.
Mm-hmm. It's much easier to not regret a decision that you made rather than a decision that somebody else made for you.
Satya, I'll just ask you a very, very easy question, right? which is the easiest decision in life?
Easiest
Which is the most easiest decision?
in life.
Yeah, in life, which is the most easiest decision?
Well, for me, it's like whether I want to drink water or not. That's like very simple decision. I don't know what you're coming at. I don't know.
I just had this epiphany. Making decisions for others.
That is profound.
Because
And I don't want to compare this with my answer because it sounds
No,
totally
no.
off, but that was profound.
Because it's very easy to tell other people what to do and not to do.
Yeah.
Hey, just do that. Just do that. Just do that. When it comes to you, that's when you shake. I look at it as a surgeon operating on a patient.
Mm-hmm.
He will not give a rat's ass. His hands will be as steady as possible. But if he has to operate on himself, fuck man, I'm pretty sure his hands are gonna shake even for a slightest bit. So making decisions for others is easier. Living by the decision is difficult. So that's where I think people hesitate to make that decision because it's effectively taking that next step.
Yeah, definitely. So we're nearly coming to the end of this podcast. The episode's name is Directionless, and in a way,
We are not one direction, right? We're
but
direction.
what Silwal and I basically are trying to do with this episode is there are so many decisions that we take, and like we said earlier, we try to draw inferences, but sometimes there is no explanation, right? So what would you want to say to our listeners, who might be postponing some sort of decisions or just looking for someone else to push them and make that decision for them?
Again, I reiterate this, that no amount of pushing for someone else is going to make you take the right decision, right? If you are stuck right now, if you know what to do next, it all depends upon you. There are different variables that are going to affect you, but just be mindful of all the things. Shout out to the Mindful Nepal. Just read the blogs out there if you want to be more mindful, right? So if people become more mindful of the decisions that they're going to take, I think that would lead to lesser regrets, because if you've thought it through, less regretful decisions that you make.
Okay, something that I just want to add quickly is the advice that you gave is fantastic, but I would also argue that sometimes the variables are so much that you cannot be mindful of all the variables out there. So at that time, what I usually do is I just ask myself, okay, what is it that I want to do at this point of time? And if I fully come to accept the decision that I take then and there, chances of regrets are a lot less later on in life. So it's about being in the present moment and doing what is right for you. Just like postponing your GRE or just cancelling it altogether. So alright listeners, so that was the 30th Tuesday. We hope we managed to cloud you with even more confusion and just set you on your way to becoming directionless.
Thank you for taking that decision to listen to us.
Yeah, and we hope that you continue on that decision even though we're saying it's all directionless altogether. We'll be back again next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on YouTube and on SoundCloud. And one last thing,
It's never too late to start.